The alien ship floated in empty space like a broken toy. Its crystal walls were cracked and bleeding air into the darkness. Inside, Commander Zethka looked at the flashing red lights on his control panel and knew his crew was going to die. The ship was called Harmony's Echo, and it carried 30 alien scientists from the Catherian race. They had been exploring new star systems when the pirates attacked. The pirates came from the Vorthan Empire, a group of savage aliens who took what they wanted and killed anyone who tried to stop them. Zethka touched his long, thin fingers to the communication panel. His skin was pale blue and smooth like polished stone. His large eyes held sadness as he watched his crew members lying in the medical bay, hurt and dying. The pirates had damaged their ship badly before flying away with their stolen cargo. "Sir, the life support systems are failing," said his science officer, a young Catherian named Veltar. "We have maybe 6 hours of air left." Zethka nodded slowly. The Catherians were a peaceful people. They had never learned how to fight or build weapons. They spent their time studying the stars and creating beautiful art. Now that peaceful nature meant they would die alone in the cold of space. "Send out a distress signal," Zethka ordered. "Use all frequencies. Maybe someone will hear us." Veltar's fingers danced over the controls. The message went out in the universal language that all space-traveling races could understand. It was simple and desperate. "Any ship that can help, please answer. We are dying. Please help us." The signal traveled through space at the speed of light, reaching out to any ship that might be listening. For 2 hours there was no answer. Zethka began to lose hope. Then the communication panel beeped. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship Relentless. We got your message. Help is coming." Zethka stared at the panel in shock. Humans. He had heard stories about them, but no one in the galactic community knew much about these strange beings. They came from a world the official databases marked as Deathworld, extreme danger. Most civilized races avoided their home system completely. "Thank you, Captain Morrison," Zethka replied. "We are grateful for any help you can give. How many crew do you have? What's your condition?" 30 crew members. "Many are injured. Our ship is badly damaged and losing air." There was a pause. Then Morrison's voice came back harder now. "Who did this to you?" "Pirates from the Vorthan Empire. They attacked us and took our research equipment." Another pause, longer this time. "Stand by. We're tracking your signal now." On the bridge of the human destroyer Relentless, Captain Jake Morrison stood looking at the main screen. He was a tall man with short gray hair and scars on his face from old battles. His uniform was dark blue and practical, built for war rather than ceremony. "How long to reach them, Danny?" Morrison asked his pilot. Lieutenant Danny Walsh checked his controls. 4 hours at maximum speed, sir. Not good enough. Those aliens will be dead by then." Morrison turned to his communications officer. "Ben, signal the fleet. All ships, emergency rescue mission." Lieutenant Ben Rodriguez nodded and began sending signals to the other human ships in their patrol group. Within minutes, 12 human warships were changing course and pushing their engines to the limit. Morrison studied the information about the alien ship on his screen. The Catherians were listed as a peaceful species, scientists and artists who had never fought a war. The Vorthans were different. They were known pirates and killers who had been causing trouble for decades. "Sir," said his tactical officer, Lieutenant Amy Carter, "I'm reading massive damage to the alien vessel. Hull breaches, power failures, life support critical." Morrison's jaw tightened. He had been fighting in space for 20 years and had seen what pirates could do to helpless ships. It always made him angry. "Amy, what do we know about these Vorthan pirates?" Carter checked her computer files. "They operate in this sector regularly. The Galactic Council has complained about them many times, but no one has ever done anything to stop them." "No one has ever done anything," Morrison repeated slowly. "Well, that's about to change." The 12 human ships raced through space toward the dying alien vessel. They were not like the elegant ships used by most galactic races. Human ships were built for fighting. They had thick armor, powerful weapons, and engines designed for speed and maneuverability. The Relentless was the largest, a destroyer-class warship with enough firepower to level a small city. The other ships included frigates, cruisers, and support vessels. All of them carried crews trained for war. On the medical ship Mercy's Hand, Dr. Lisa Brooks prepared her medical bay for alien patients. She had treated many different species before, but Cytherians were new to her. She studied their biology on her computer, learning how to help them. "This is going to be interesting," she told her assistant, Nurse Katie Phillips. "Their blood chemistry is completely different from ours." Back on the Harmony's Echo, Commander Zethka watched his air supply continue to drop. 2 more of his crew had died from their injuries. The ship was getting colder as the power systems failed. Then space around them began to shimmer and glow. One by one, the human ships appeared, materializing from hyperspace in perfect formation. Zethka had never seen ships like these before. They looked dangerous and predatory, like metal sharks swimming through the darkness. "This is Captain Morrison. We're here to help. Prepare for emergency docking." Zethka felt relief wash over him, but also a strange fear. These humans had come to save them, but there was something about their ships that made him nervous. They looked like they were built for only one purpose: destroying other ships. The human rescue operation began immediately. Small shuttles launched from the human ships, carrying medical teams and emergency equipment. The humans moved with quick efficiency, like they had done this many times before. Within an hour, all 30 Cytherian crew members were safely aboard human vessels. Dr. Brooks and her team worked to save the injured aliens while engineers examined the damaged ship. Captain Morrison studied the data about the attack, his face growing darker with each detail he read. The Cytherians were safe, but as Commander Zethka looked around at the human ships surrounding them, he began to wonder if they had made a terrible mistake. These were not the peaceful, diplomatic beings he was used to dealing with. These humans looked like warriors, and warriors solve problems in ways that peaceful beings could not understand. The rescue was complete, but Zethka had a feeling that this was only the beginning of something much larger and more dangerous than anyone expected. The human medical bay was unlike anything Commander Zethka had ever seen. The walls were metal gray and covered with strange equipment. Bright lights made everything look harsh and cold. Human doctors and nurses moved between the injured Cytherians, but their movements seemed aggressive compared to the gentle healers Zethka was used to. Dr. Lisa Brooks knelt beside an injured Cytherian scientist named Morden. His leg was badly broken and he was losing the blue fluid that served as Cytherian blood. Brooks worked quickly, using human medical tools that looked more like weapons than healing devices. "Hold still," Brooks told Morden through the universal translator. "This might hurt a little," Morden cried out as Brooks reset his broken bone. The sound echoed through the medical bay, making the other Cytherians nervous. They were not used to such direct treatment. Cytherian medicine was slow and gentle, using natural healing methods that took time but caused no pain. Zethka watched from a nearby bed where Nurse Katie Phillips was treating a cut on his arm. The human woman was efficient but rough. She cleaned the wound with chemicals that burned and used a device that sealed the cut with heat. "Your people heal differently than we do," Phillips explained as she worked. "Human medicine is fast but not gentle. We fix things quickly so you can get back to fighting." "Fighting?" Zethka asked. "We do not fight. We are scientists." Phillips looked surprised. "Then who protects your people when someone attacks you?" Zethka did not know how to answer. The Cytherians had always relied on the Galactic Council to solve problems with words and treaties. Violence was something they tried to avoid completely. Captain Morrison entered the medical bay, his heavy boots making loud sounds on the metal floor. He walked directly to Zethka, not stopping to greet the other aliens or ask permission to approach. "Commander Zethka, I need to ask you some questions about the attack." Zethka tried to sit up straighter. Morrison was taller than any Cytherian, and his presence felt overwhelming. "Of course, Captain. We are very grateful for your help." "Save the thanks for later," Morrison said bluntly. "Right now I need information. How many Vorthon ships attacked you?" 3 large vessels and several smaller ones. "Maybe 15 ships total." Morrison nodded and made notes on a small computer pad. "What weapons did they use?" "Energy cannons and some kind of boarding torpedoes. They disabled our engines first, then boarded us to steal our equipment." "Did they take prisoners?" Zethka's large eyes filled with sadness. "They took 5 of our researchers, young scientists who were studying star formation. We do not know what happened to them." Morrison's face grew hard and angry. "I know what happened to them. The Vorthons sell prisoners as slaves to mining colonies in the outer systems." The casual way Morrison said this shocked Zethka. Surely the Galactic Council will negotiate for their release. How long have the Vorthons been raiding ships in this sector? Morrison asked, ignoring Zethka's comment about negotiation. Many years, perhaps 50 or more. The Council has filed numerous complaints and tried to arrange peace talks, but the Vorthons refused to attend. Morrison stared at Zethka for a long moment. 50 years. And in all that time, has the Council ever sent warships to stop them? We do not solve problems with violence, Zethka said proudly. We believe in peaceful solutions. How's that working out for you? Morrison asked. Before Zethka could answer, Morrison turned and walked away. He stopped at the door and spoke to Dr. Brooks. How soon before they can be moved to a safer location? Most of them are stable now, Brooks replied. The seriously injured ones need a few more days, but they should all survive. Good. Transfer them to the transport ship Evening Star. Captain Walsh will take them back to Catherian space. What about you? Zethka called out. Where are you going? Morrison looked back at him. To find the pirates who did this. But Captain, surely you cannot consider attacking them. The proper response is to report this incident to the proper authorities. Morrison's laugh was cold and harsh. Commander, I am the proper authority out here. This is human space now, and we handle piracy our own way. After Morrison left, Zethka talked with his surviving crew members. They were all disturbed by the humans they had met. These beings were nothing like the civilized species in the Galactic Council. They move like predators, whispered Veltar. Did you see how they carry themselves? Always alert, always ready to fight. Dr. Brooks overheard them talking. You seem surprised that we're not like other species you've met. We expected beings more like ourselves, Zethka explained. Peaceful, civilized, interested in science and art. Brooks sat down across from them. Her expression was serious but not unkind. Commander, what kind of world do you come from? Kithra Prime is beautiful. Gentle rains, mild temperatures, no dangerous animals. We have had peace for thousands of years. That explains a lot, Brooks said. Earth is different. We have storms that can destroy cities, animals that hunt us for food, diseases that kill millions. We learned to fight because everything on our world was trying to kill us. But you have advanced technology now, Veltar pointed out. Surely you have moved beyond such primitive concerns. Brooks shook her head. Technology doesn't change what you are inside. We're still the same species that survived ice ages and fought off predators with stone tools. That's why we're good at war. Being good at war is nothing to be proud of, Zethka said. Maybe not, Brooks agreed. But it means we can protect people who can't protect themselves. On the bridge of the Relentless, Morrison gathered his senior officers. Executive Officer Commander Pete Sullivan stood at the tactical display, studying the data they had collected from the damaged Catherian ship. The attack pattern suggests the pirates are based somewhere in the Graken Nebula, Sullivan reported. It's the perfect hiding place. The electromagnetic storms make it hard to scan. Tactical Officer Amy Carter nodded. Intelligence reports say the Vorthons have been using that nebula as a base for decades. They probably have a full fleet hidden in there. How many ships are we talking about? Morrison asked. Best guess is 40 to 50 vessels plus a fortified base on one of the asteroids inside the nebula. Morrison studied the star charts on the main screen. The Graken Nebula was a massive cloud of ionized gas and electrical storms. Most ships avoided it because the conditions made navigation dangerous. What about the other human fleets in this sector? Morrison asked. Admiral Parker's task force is 3 days away, Sullivan replied. Admiral Johnson's group is even further. So it's just us against 50 pirate ships, Carter said. The odds aren't good. Morrison smiled grimly. Amy, in 20 years of service, when have we ever had good odds? Marine Colonel Rick Barnes entered the bridge, his combat armor making him look even more intimidating than usual. Captain, my Marines are ready for boarding operations whenever you give the word. How many do you have? 200 combat Marines plus support personnel. We can handle anything the pirates can throw at us. Morrison looked around at his officers. These men and women had fought in 3 major wars and dozens of smaller conflicts. They were professional soldiers who knew how to do one thing very well: destroy their enemies. Gentlemen, we have a choice, Morrison said. We can take the rescued aliens home and file a report with the Galactic Council. Or we can go into that nebula and end the Vorthon piracy problem once and for all. The aliens want us to use diplomatic channels, Sullivan pointed out. The aliens have been trying diplomatic channels for 50 years, Morrison replied. How many more ships have to be raided while bureaucrats debate? Carter checked her weapons status display. All systems are ready, Captain. We can be in the nebula in 6 hours, Morrison nodded. Signal the fleet. We're going hunting. Back in the medical bay, Commander Zethka felt a change in the ship's movement. The Relentless was accelerating, heading away from Catherian space. He called to Dr. Brooks. Where are we going? Brooks checked her communication panel. Captain Morrison is taking the fleet to find the pirates who attacked you. Zethka felt a chill run through his body. But we told him we do not want violence. We want our people to be returned through proper negotiations. Commander, Brooks said gently, Captain Morrison doesn't negotiate with pirates. He eliminates them. As the human fleet moved toward the Graken Nebula, Zethka realized that calling for help had been a terrible mistake. The humans were not rescuers. They were something far more dangerous. Warriors who saw violence as the solution to every problem. Soon, the galaxy would learn what happened when you called upon humanity for help. The Graken Nebula stretched across space like a giant storm cloud made of gas and lightning. Purple and green electrical discharges flickered through the cosmic fog, creating a maze of deadly energy that could fry the electronics of any ship foolish enough to enter unprepared. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the Relentless, studying the swirling mass of charged particles on his main screen. The nebula was over 2 light-years across and filled with electromagnetic storms that made normal sensors useless. It was the perfect place for pirates to hide. Analysis, Amy, Morrison ordered his tactical officer. Lieutenant Amy Carter worked at her station, running scans of the nebula's edge. The storms are intense, sir. Most ships would be flying blind in there. Communication systems would be jammed, sensors scrambled. Most ships, Morrison repeated. But not human ships, Carter smiled. No, sir. Our ships were built to operate in Earth's magnetic field during solar storms. This nebula is actually less dangerous than flying through a coronal mass ejection near home. Executive Officer Pete Sullivan joined them at the command station. Captain, I've been thinking about the tactical situation. If the pirates have 40 ships and we only have 12, maybe we should call for reinforcements. Morrison shook his head. By the time reinforcements arrive, the pirates will know we're here. They'll either run or prepare for a siege. Either way, we lose the advantage of surprise. Commander Zethka stood at the back of the bridge watching the humans plan their attack. He had been allowed to stay and observe, though he wished he was anywhere else. The casual way these beings discussed violence made his stomach feel sick. Captain Morrison, Zethka said, stepping forward. Perhaps I could help contact the Vorthan leaders. My people are skilled negotiators. We could arrange a prisoner exchange. Morrison turned to look at the alien commander. What would you offer them in exchange for your people? Scientific knowledge, perhaps? Or trade agreements. The Catherians have developed many useful technologies. So you would reward them for piracy by giving them valuable technology? Zethka's large eyes blinked slowly. It would save lives on both sides. It would also encourage them to capture more scientists in the future, Morrison pointed out. Every time you pay ransom to pirates, you're funding their next attack. Before Zethka could respond, the ship's communication system activated. Chief Warrant Officer Matt Johnson's face appeared on the screen. Johnson commanded one of the fleet's stealth ships, designed for reconnaissance and special operations. Captain, we've completed our preliminary scan of the nebula's outer edge, Johnson reported. I'm detecting multiple ship signatures deep inside the storm zone. Looks like the intelligence reports were accurate. How many ships, Chief? At least 30 that I can count. Probably more hidden deeper in the nebula. They've got a nice setup. The storms provide natural cover and make it impossible for most species to track them. Morrison nodded. Any sign of defensive systems? Sensor platforms around the perimeter, but they're using old technology. They probably can't detect our stealth ships, but they'd spot the main fleet easily. Good work. Chief, return to the fleet and prepare for Phase 2. As Johnson's image faded from the screen, Morrison turned to his senior staff. Gentlemen, we're going to do this the hard way. Amy, I want you to coordinate with the other ships. We're going to divide the fleet into 3 groups. Carter pulled up a tactical display showing the nebula and the surrounding space. What's the plan, sir? Commander Sandra Price will take 4 ships and attack the nebula's edge. Make it look like a standard assault, big, loud, and obvious. The pirates will think that's our main attack and send most of their ships to respond. Sullivan studied the display. A diversion. What about the second group? Chief Johnson will take 2 stealth ships deep into the nebula. His job is to disable their sensor platforms and early warning systems. Once they're blind, the main assault can begin. And the third group? Carter asked. Morrison's smile was cold. I'll take 6 ships straight through the heart of the nebula. We'll hit their base while most of their fleet is busy with Price's diversion. Zethka stepped forward again, his voice shaking. Captain, this plan will result in the deaths of hundreds of beings. Surely there must be another way. Commander, Morrison said patiently, these pirates have been killing and enslaving innocent people for 50 years. How many more victims should we allow while we try to negotiate with them? But violence only leads to more violence. If you attack them, they will seek revenge. Morrison turned to face Zethka directly. Against who? Against humans? Let them try. We've been fighting wars for thousands of years. It's what we do best. The alien commander looked around the bridge at the human officers. All of them seemed comfortable with the idea of battle. It was like watching predators plan a hunt. Your people seem to enjoy the prospect of war, Zethka observed. Enjoy? Morrison considered the question. No, Commander. We don't enjoy war, but we're good at it and sometimes it's necessary. Your people have had the luxury of peace because others have been willing to fight your battles for you. The Galactic Council has kept peace for centuries. The Galactic Council has kept peace for civilized species, Sullivan corrected. But what happens when you meet someone who doesn't care about your rules? Someone who takes what they want by force? We try to understand them. We look for common ground. Carter laughed, but not in a mean way. Commander, the Vorthans don't want common ground. They want your cargo and your people. You can't negotiate with someone who sees you as prey. The tactical planning continued for several hours. Each human ship received detailed orders for their part in the operation. The plan was complex but simple. Divide the enemy's attention, eliminate their ability to coordinate, then destroy them before they could respond. Morrison walked through the ship, checking on his crew as they prepared for battle. In the weapons bay, gunner's mate Tony Garcia supervised the loading of kinetic projectiles, massive tungsten rods that could punch through any armor at near light speed. How many rounds do we have, Tony? Morrison asked. Enough to level a small moon, Captain, Garcia replied. These pirates picked the wrong species to mess with. In the Marine section, Colonel Rick Barnes briefed his troops on boarding operations. The Marines wore powered armor that made them look like mechanical giants. Their weapons were designed to fight in the close quarters of ship corridors. Remember, we're not here to capture prisoners, Barnes told his men. The pirates made their choice when they started raiding civilian ships. Our job is to make sure they don't get to make that choice again. Back on the bridge, Morrison received reports from the other ships in the fleet. Commander Sandra Price confirmed that her diversionary force was ready. Chief Johnson reported that his stealth ships were already moving toward the nebula's edge. All ships report ready. Captain, Sullivan announced. Morrison looked at the swirling storm clouds of the Graken Nebula on his screen. Somewhere in that cosmic hurricane, the Vorthan pirates thought they were safe. They had been wrong about many things, but this was their biggest mistake. Signal the fleet, Morrison ordered. Begin Operation Thunderstorm. The human ships moved into position around the nebula. To any observer, it would look like a standard military operation, organized, professional, and predictable. The pirates would see the approaching ships and respond according to their own tactical doctrine. But the Vorthans had never fought humans before. They were about to learn that human warfare was unlike anything they had experienced. When humans went to war, they didn't just defeat their enemies, they erased them. As the Relentless moved toward the nebula's swirling storms, Zethka gripped the railing of the observation deck. He had called for help to save his crew, but instead he had unleashed something terrible. The galaxy would never be the same after today. In the distance, the first energy discharges from Commander Price's diversionary attack lit up the darkness. The battle for the Graken Nebula had begun. The first explosions lit up the edge of the Graken Nebula like fireworks. Commander Sandra Price's 4 ships attacked the pirate sensor stations with focused energy beams, making as much noise and light as possible. Her job was to get attention, and she was very good at her job. Price stood on the bridge of her cruiser Thunderbolt, watching the tactical display as Vorthan ships began responding to her attack. The pirates flew out of the nebula in groups, their organic ships looking like giant insects against the purple glow of the storm clouds. 15 ships moving to intercept, reported her tactical officer, Lieutenant Joe Martinez. "More coming from deeper in the nebula." "Perfect," Price replied. "Keep hitting their sensor stations. Make them think we're trying to clear a path for invasion." The Vorthan ships were larger than the human vessels but slower and less maneuverable. They had been built for raiding merchant ships, not fighting trained military forces. Their weapons were designed to disable rather than destroy, since damaged cargo was less valuable than destroyed cargo. The human ships were different. Every weapon system was built to kill as efficiently as possible. Deep inside the nebula, Chief Warrant Officer Matt Johnson guided his 2 stealth ships through the electromagnetic storms. The stealth ships were smaller than the main warships, but equipped with advanced technology that made them nearly invisible to enemy sensors. Johnson watched his navigation display as lightning bolts the size of buildings flashed around his ship. The cosmic storm would have destroyed most vessels, but human ships were built to survive in the hostile environment around Earth. This nebula was actually calmer than some of the solar storms he had flown through. "Contact," whispered his sensor operator, Petty Officer Sarah Kim. "Vorthon sensor platform, 2,000 meters ahead." Johnson smiled. The pirates had hidden their early warning systems inside the storm, thinking no one could find them. They were wrong. "Take it out quietly," Johnson ordered. A single missile launched from his ship, guided by advanced targeting systems that could track objects through the electromagnetic chaos. The Vorthan sensor platform exploded silently in the vacuum of space, its destruction hidden by the storm. One by one, Johnson's team eliminated the pirate warning systems. The Vorthans were becoming blind just as Captain Morrison's main assault began. Morrison stood on the bridge of the Relentless as his 6 ships moved into the heart of the nebula. The storm was incredible. Sheets of energy that could fry unprotected electronics, magnetic fields that could crush metal, and radiation levels that would kill most organic life. But human ships were designed for this kind of environment. Earth's magnetosphere created similar conditions during solar storms, and human technology had been built to handle far worse. "Sensors are holding steady," reported Lieutenant Amy Carter. "We're invisible in this storm." "Good. What's our target status?" "Large asteroid, heavily fortified. I'm reading multiple docking bays and what looks like a command center. Definitely the main pirate base." Morrison nodded. Intelligence had been correct. The Vorthans had hollowed out an asteroid and turned it into a fortress. It was protected by the nebula's storms and hidden from normal sensors. The perfect pirate hideout, or it had been until the humans arrived. "Signal the other ships," Morrison ordered. "Begin the attack." The 6 human warships emerged from the storm like ghosts materializing from fog. The pirate base had no warning. Their sensors were designed to work in normal space, not in the middle of an electromagnetic hurricane. The human attack was devastating and precise. Each ship fired different weapons at different targets, coordinated by tactical computers that could process information faster than any organic brain. The Relentless launched kinetic projectiles. Tungsten rods accelerated to tremendous speed. They hit the asteroid base like hammers thrown by gods, punching through rock and metal as if they were paper. The destroyer Iron Wolf fired concentrated plasma beams that cut through the asteroid's defensive shields like a hot knife through butter. The cruiser Night Fury used guided missiles that could change direction even inside the electromagnetic storm. The pirate base began to break apart under the assault. Explosions rippled through the asteroid as ammunition stores and fuel tanks detonated. Atmosphere vented into space in great white clouds as the station's hull cracked open. "Direct hit on their command center," Carter reported. "I'm reading massive internal explosions." Morrison watched the destruction on his screen without emotion. This was not personal revenge or military glory. This was extermination. The Vorthan pirates had chosen to prey on innocent beings, and now they faced the consequences. On the far side of the nebula, Commander Price continued her diversionary attack. More Vorthan ships had arrived to fight her small force just as Morrison had planned. The pirates thought they were winning, driving off a small human assault force. They had no idea that their main base was being destroyed behind them. 30 pirate ships engaged, Martinez reported. "They're pressing the attack hard." Price smiled coldly. "Let them come. Keep falling back slowly. Make them think they're winning." The human ships fired as they retreated, each shot carefully aimed to damage but not destroy the pursuing pirates. The goal was to keep them busy and away from their base for as long as possible. Inside the nebula, Morrison's assault continued. The asteroid base was now a floating ruin, but there were still Vorthon ships docked to it. As the human ships moved closer, those ships began to undock and flee. 8 pirate vessels trying to escape, Carter announced. "Don't let them," Morrison ordered. The human ships split up, each pursuing a different fleeing pirate. The Vorthons were fast, but they had to navigate through the electromagnetic storm without proper sensors. The humans could see clearly through the chaos. Lieutenant Commander Ben Walsh piloted the frigate Stormbreaker in pursuit of a Vorthon raider. His ship was smaller and faster than the enemy vessel, and his crew had been trained for this kind of hunt. "Target their engines," Walsh ordered his gunner. "I want them dead in space." The frigate's weapons fired with surgical precision. The pirate ship's engines exploded, leaving it drifting helplessly in the storm. Walsh considered taking prisoners, then remembered the slave pens they had found in Vorthon bases before. "Finish them," he ordered. The Stormbreaker's main gun fired once. The pirate ship vanished in a brief flash of light. This scene repeated itself throughout the nebula as human ships hunted down the fleeing pirates. There were no surrender demands, no calls for the enemy to give up. The humans had come to end the Vorthon piracy problem, and they intended to be thorough. On the bridge of the Relentless, Commander Zethka watched the tactical display in horror. Each blinking light that disappeared represented a ship full of living beings. The humans were not fighting a battle, they were conducting a massacre. "Captain Morrison," Zethka said, his voice shaking. Surely some of those ships wished to surrender. Morrison didn't look away from his tactical display. "Did your attackers offer you a chance to surrender?" "That's different. We were civilians." "So are the people they've been enslaving for 50 years, Morrison replied. "The Vorthons made their choice long ago. Today they learn what that choice costs." The battle was almost over. The pirate base was destroyed, most of their ships were eliminated, and the survivors were scattered. Commander Price's diversionary force began withdrawing from their position, leading the remaining Vorthon ships deeper into the trap. "Captain," Chief Johnson reported over the communication system, "all sensor platforms destroyed. The nebula is clear." "Excellent work, Chief. Begin Phase 3. Phase 3 was the closing of the trap. Price's ships stopped retreating and turned to fight. Johnson's stealth ships emerged from the storm to attack the pirates from behind. Morrison's assault force moved to block any escape routes. The remaining Vorthon ships found themselves surrounded inside their own hiding place. Cut off from help and outnumbered by enemies they could barely detect through the storm. The end came quickly. The Vorthon ships were not built for real combat against trained military forces. They were raiders and slavers, used to attacking helpless merchants and unarmed civilian vessels. Within 2 hours, the Vorthon presence in the Graken Nebula was completely eliminated. 43 pirate ships destroyed, their base reduced to floating debris. Their threat to galactic shipping ended forever. Morrison stood on his bridge, looking at the tactical display that now showed only green dots representing human ships. The red enemy contacts were all gone. "Casualties?" he asked. "Minor damage to 3 ships, no human fatalities," Carter reported. "The pirates never had a chance to mount an effective defense." Zethka stared at the display in shock. In less than 6 hours, the humans had eliminated a pirate fleet that had terrorized this sector for decades. The Galactic Council had tried diplomacy for 50 years without success, but the humans had solved the problem in a single afternoon. "What kind of beings are you?" Zethka whispered. Morrison turned to look at the alien commander. "We're the kind of beings you call when diplomacy fails, Commander. We're the ones who do what others can't or won't do." As the human fleet regrouped and began searching the destroyed base for survivors and evidence, word of the battle spread through subspace communication networks. Across the galaxy, other pirates and raiders. The ruins of the Vorthon base floated in the electromagnetic storm like broken bones scattered across a battlefield. Captain Morrison guided his boarding shuttle through the debris field, heading toward the largest intact section of the destroyed asteroid facility. Behind him sat Marine Colonel Rick Barnes and a team of 20 combat Marines, their powered armor making them look like mechanical giants. Dr. Lisa Brooks was also aboard, along with several other specialists whose job was to document what they found inside the pirate stronghold. "What are we looking for, Captain?" Barnes asked as they approached the docking bay. "Evidence," Morrison replied. "I want to know exactly how big this operation was and who else might be involved." The shuttle's lights cut through the darkness as they entered the damaged docking bay. Emergency atmosphere fields still functioned in some sections, creating pockets of breathable air surrounded by the vacuum of space. Bodies of Vorthan pirates floated among the wreckage, killed when the human attack breached the station's hull. Morrison's team moved through the corridors carefully, their suit lights illuminating scenes of destruction. The asteroid base had been larger than anyone expected, with multiple levels carved deep into the rock. The Vorthans had been operating here for decades, growing their criminal empire in secret. They found the first slave pen on level 3. Dr. Brooks knelt beside a cage that held 6 beings from different species. 2 Catherians, a Zalarian trader, and 3 others that Morrison didn't recognize. All of them were weak from poor treatment and inadequate food. "How long have you been here?" Brooks asked a young Catherian female through her translator. "Many months," the alien replied weakly. "They captured our research ship and brought us here to work in the processing centers." Brooks looked around the slave pen in anger. There were dozens of similar cages, most of them empty now. How many prisoners were usually kept here? Hundreds. They brought new ones every few days and shipped others away to mining colonies. Morrison recorded everything on his portable computer while Barnes secured the area. This was worse than they had imagined. The Vorthans hadn't just been raiding ships for cargo. They had been running a large-scale slave trading operation. They moved deeper into the base, finding more evidence of the pirates' crimes. Storage rooms filled with stolen goods from raided ships. Communication logs showing contacts with slave buyers across 3 sectors. Financial records proving that the Vorthan operation had been making enormous profits from their criminal activities. "Captain," called out Sergeant Nick Thompson from another corridor, "you need to see this." Morrison followed Thompson to what had been the base's command center. The room was damaged but still functional, with computer displays showing star charts and shipping routes throughout the local systems. "This is their target database," Thompson explained, pointing to one of the screens. "Look at how organized they were." Morrison studied the display in growing anger. The Vorthans had detailed information on hundreds of civilian ships, their routes, cargo, defensive capabilities, crew sizes. They had been tracking merchant vessels, research ships, and passenger transports like a hunter studying prey. "How did they get all this information?" Morrison asked. Dr. Brooks examined another computer terminal. According to these files, they had informants in several spaceports, people who would report on ship movements and cargo manifests. The scale of the criminal network was staggering. The Vorthans hadn't been simple pirates operating a few ships. They had built a sophisticated organization with contacts throughout civilized space, preying on innocent travelers for decades while the Galactic Council debated peaceful solutions. Barnes found the facility's main database and began downloading everything. "Captain, this information will let us track down their entire network. Buyers, informants, other bases, we can roll up the whole operation." Morrison nodded grimly. "Do it. I want every piece of data they have." While his team worked, Morrison contacted the other ships in his fleet. Commander Sandra Price reported finding similar evidence aboard the destroyed pirate vessels. Chief Johnson had recovered navigation logs showing routes to other Vorthan facilities. "Sir?" Price's voice came through the communicator. "We found references to at least 6 other bases in this sector alone. The Vorthans were much bigger than we thought." Morrison was not surprised. Criminal organizations always grew larger when no one opposed them effectively. The Galactic Council's peaceful approach had given the pirates decades to expand their operations. On the bridge of the Relentless, Commander Zethka waited nervously for Morrison's return. The Catherian commander had spent hours thinking about what he had witnessed. The humans had destroyed the entire Vorthan base and fleet with an efficiency that terrified him. When Morrison finally returned to the ship, Zethka approached him immediately. "Captain, what did you find in the base?" Morrison's expression was grim. "Evidence of crimes against hundreds of innocent beings. Your people weren't the only ones they enslaved, Commander." Zethka felt sick. "How many prisoners were there?" "The logs show they processed over 2,000 captives in the past 5 years alone. Sold them to mining operations, agricultural colonies, anywhere that needed slave labor. The number was beyond anything Zethka had imagined. 2,000 beings enslaved while the Council tried to negotiate. Your Council's peaceful approach gave them time to expand their operations," Morrison said bluntly. "Every day you spent talking, more people died." Lieutenant Amy Carter approached with a datapad in her hands. "Captain, we've analyzed all the information from the base. The Vorthan network was extensive. 12 major bases, over 200 ships, thousands of personnel. Was? Morrison asked. Intelligence indicates that news of our attack is spreading through subspace communications. Other Vorthan bases are evacuating or going into hiding. Morrison smiled coldly. Good, let them run. It will make hunting them down more interesting. Zethka stared at the human captain. You intend to pursue them? All of them? Commander, did you think destroying one base would end this? The Vorthons have been committing crimes against innocent people for decades. We're going to end their entire operation. But surely now that they know you are hunting them, they will stop their criminal activities. Morrison laughed harshly. Criminals don't stop being criminals because someone threatens them. They just try to be more careful. The only way to stop a predator is to kill it. Over the following days, Morrison's fleet began systematically hunting down the remaining Vorthan bases. Using intelligence gathered from the Graken Nebula facility, they tracked pirate ships and installations across 3 sectors. The attacks followed the same pattern each time. Human ships would arrive without warning, eliminate all resistance, and capture or destroy everything they found. There were no negotiations, no surrender offers, no attempts at peaceful resolution. Word of the human campaign spread quickly through galactic communication networks. Other criminal organizations watched nervously as the Vorthons were systematically eliminated. Pirate fleets that had operated freely for years suddenly found themselves looking over their shoulders. 6 months later, Vorthon piracy had ceased to exist as a threat to galactic shipping. The human fleet had destroyed 12 major bases, eliminated over 300 pirate vessels, and rescued thousands of enslaved beings. Commander Zethka, now recovered and back at his research station, often thought about Captain Morrison and his crew. The humans had saved his life and the lives of countless others, but their methods still disturbed him. In his final report to the Catherian Science Council, he wrote, "We called for help and received salvation, but at a price we had not expected to pay. The humans are not like us. They do not seek diplomatic solutions or peaceful compromises. When they see a problem, they eliminate it completely. We regretted sending that distress signal the moment we realized what the humans truly were. They are not diplomats or peacekeepers. They are devastators who solve problems through overwhelming force. But perhaps in a galaxy where predators prey upon the innocent, that is exactly what we need." The report was classified by the Catherian government, but copies found their way to other species throughout the galactic community. The peaceful races began to understand that their new human neighbors operated by different rules. In the months that followed, piracy rates dropped dramatically throughout human-controlled space. Criminal organizations learned to avoid areas where human patrols operated. The mere threat of human intervention was enough to discourage most raiders. The Galactic Council, horrified by human methods but unable to argue with the results, began quiet discussions about how these Deathworlders might be useful in other situations where diplomacy had failed. Captain Morrison continued his patrols of the outer systems, carrying a simple message to any who would listen: harm the innocent and face the consequences. In the cold vacuum of space, that message was written in the wreckage of those who had thought themselves untouchable. The galaxy had learned an important lesson about humanity. When humans answered a call for help, they didn't just rescue the victims, they eliminated the threat completely. Other species might debate the morality of such methods, but none could argue with their effectiveness. In the vast darkness between the stars, predators looked at